Welcome.
Hi, Adya. Thank you so much. I've been to a number of your retreats, and this is my first time asking you a question. I just feel profoundly honored, and words really fail to communicate the.
Wonderful. Well, this is the first time this is the first time we've talked then.
Yes,
face to face.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Well, it's about time if you've been on some retreats and stuff. So I'm glad we're both finally getting around to it.
Thank you. So I remember you always said you could count on one hand the amount of questions you asked your teachers, so that made me feel not so bad about not raising my hand.
All right. Yeah.
So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I was, as always, very moved by your teachings today, and for some reason it evoked that saying, which I know you know from, I believe it's the third Zen patriarch, who said, "The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences."
Yeah.
And I've always been very just in awe of that. And I've had my moments, thanks in no small part to you and your teachings and the insights I've had on retreats, where I have felt such surrender and such peace. And really, without, for those moments, they don't stay. They don't stay forever, but there's such a sense of equanimity in those moments where I'm really like, whatever happens, happens, and I am the awareness witnessing it all. And it is, as you know and have expressed, it is so profoundly beautiful. And yet, I find myself as a human being faced with whether it's career goals. I'm a very ambitious person. I have a lot of loves. I'm in music. And also even in a time where we are now with this, virus, and it creates a lot of, anxiety and things of that nature. And I just started to think, I'm so curious, like, how does Adya hold this in the sense of to be without preference? Like, do you really, is true awakening saying, if I get this virus, I'm fine either way. Let that be the vehicle for my awakening. Let that be the thing that gives me what I need. I'm just so curious how, from that evolved, awakened perspective, is that it? Just
well, you know what it is. It's a tricky thing. This is the deal. As far as the virus goes, I haven't given a moment's thought whether I get it or not, so I couldn't tell you. Which might be weird to a lot of people that it's not. If I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. I'm doing the best I can, though. But the thing about the no preferences is it's tricky because if you ask me, Adya, do you have all the time no preferences? Absolutely not. I couldn't move in the world without preferences. Neither could you. Neither could the third patriarch. If somebody said, "Hey, do you want instant or non-instant oatmeal?" You're going to have to come up with a preference, right? Do you like chocolate or vanilla ice cream? If you, no matter what you say, you're revealing a preference. So it's not the mere fact of having a preference. If we just cut ourselves off from that, then we don't know what we want about anything, and that's not so intelligent. But what the third patriarch is getting there and I love that sentence too, right? The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. It's really about not seeing your preferences. This is the way a Buddhist would put it, seeing that your preferences are empty. And what I mean by that is, okay, I have preferences, but to me, my own preferences are no indication that what I prefer is better or worse or more real or more anything. So in other words, I don't imbue my preferences with meaning. They're just, okay, hey, I guess I want chocolate ice cream today. Does that mean chocolate ice cream is better than any other? No. So I'm afraid we'll not have any argument about that. No, it doesn't mean anything other than, hey, that's what I would, if I'm being asked, that's my preference. So it's not about having no preferences. It's just about seeing that, first of all, seeing that your or my preferences, that we don't blow them up as my preferences are bigger than some, or more important or more real than anybody else's. No, they're just preferences. And that makes them so much easier to hold with a kind of lightness. You know, like, okay, yeah, I want that to happen. Or it's kind of like you said, if you do business or something, you know, the old Eastern teaching to karma yogis, which karma yogis would be, you know, people who were trying to their fundamental way of dealing through their spirituality was through their work, right? And so it was like, yeah, you've got to be committed. And I've been in a few communities where the teacher in the community, like their fundamental teaching is around karma yoga. And what you find is people that are very committed to whatever they're doing, that they do it with great excellence and great care. And at the same time, then have no attachment to outcome.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Or let's put it this way, something a little more human, very little attachment to outcome. So you don't get too idealistic about it.
I love that. So in the sense of don't let the end lose you from the means. Don't lose yourself in the end result and miss the enjoyment and the beauty of the simple act of doing it in the moment.
Yeah, that's it. And it is the beauty of it. Maybe a wonderful story. This is a true story up in San Francisco some years back, in one of the big museums. They had a group of Tibetan monks that came and live right in the museum. There was 3 or 4 of them, and they worked on this big sun mandala for weeks. Because, you know, they're very intricate, and it was very big, and it took them, you know, working 8 hours a day for weeks. And so they find it, so that's a lot of dedication, right? So they obviously have a preference, like we want to make the best sun mandala we can do, right? So they're obviously committed to excellence and all sorts of things. So they get this thing done, and then they're going to have the big reveal. You know what I mean? Where like, here it is, and they had the San Francisco mayor was there, and dignitaries and people all showed up, and they're just, you know, and they had the little red like rope around it they'd had for weeks to keep people from, you know, walking through it. And so now the monks are done, and they basically just sat back and basically went like, ta-da, here it is. At that point, this little kid got so taken with the beauty of this sun mandala, he just couldn't contain himself, and he got away from his mother's hand, and he ran right into the middle of the sun mandala. And he just destroyed. You know, he didn't mean to destroy it. He wasn't being destructive, but he was just so excited, right? He just wanted to run and be with it, and of course, you know, the dignitaries immediately and the parents went to grab this little boy, and the monks, spontaneously, right? Like in the moment, they basically got between everybody and the little boy, and they said, no, just let him do it.
Wow.
And they let this little boy, you know, run around through the sand a little bit. And because they said, look, all sun mandalas get destroyed. That's part of the tradition. You don't hang a sun mandala up. They get destroyed. And it's like, the kid just beat us to destroying it by 6 months. Okay. So, you know, so in other words, they poured themselves in, they were committed, they had a vision, they had, you know, all the kind of things that we do when we would want to do something with dedication and excellence. And yet, like, the whole sun mandala the whole thing is about impermanence. And so that was influencing the whole thing. So when you said, like, I can't remember the exact phrase, but something about like you know, being clued into that the beauty of the doing of something, right? Or the enjoyment of it, or all of that. That's where I think our attention belongs, right? Because then we can do things with great commitment. But the commitment is to the doing of it rather than the outcome.
That's so awesome. And so just for a second, going back, that really makes sense and really resonates with me. And going back, I guess, to this moment now where there's a lot of uncertainty and, you know, people are you could say unduly freaking out perhaps with the whole virus,
we'll see.
but it creates a lot of anxiety. Would perhaps, to take what you just said, my understanding is there's nothing wrong with saying, yes, my preference would not be to get the virus. However, as of this moment right now, I'm fine. Yeah. And I'm totally great. And to be with that and to not go into the future and to be beyond whatever is present in this moment. Does that feel? Yeah.
I mean, stay, I think one of the important things is not without becoming a cliche or something like this, but, to have some connection with, to retain some connection with the beauty of existence, I think is so important. And that's not a denial of all the terrible things that happen in people's lives and the suffering that goes on. And but I think the underlying thing is, however we are with something, whatever we do it in a beautiful way. Because that's what communicates to people. Right? That's more important than simply focusing on what we're doing. I think how we're doing it, and because we're conveying something through how, aren't we? We're conveying something all the time.
So true.
So that's what I think is worthwhile putting attention on, is just being attentive, not like judgmental, but just attentive to how I do something, what part of myself I really throw into this is the most important element of anything. Whether it's like me and you having a conversation, why are we having the conversation? I think we're both throwing ourselves into the conversation with very positive intentions, right? So that's a really beautiful thing to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think when we're staying in touch with that as much as we can through anything we do, even all those just little conversations we have with each other throughout the day and all sorts of, then, okay, do what you do with great commitment, but also, it's all a temporary thing, right? So you might as well enjoy the doing of things, because it's all a sand mandala. Right? Including our lives. It's something's going to come by and do the old cosmic sweep right through the middle of our life. And so, you know what I mean?
Right. And we don't know when, and we don't know where.
We don't.
We have right now, right.
But it does seem, don't you think, that there seems to be something, even if we didn't think in sort of spiritual terms, but there does seem to be something within human beings that that has just a sort of natural inclination towards, what's the word? I don't know what the word is. Towards a kind of being a benevolent presence in the world.
Yeah.
You just get so few people that don't think that's a good idea. You know what I mean? or as an inner orientation. And I don't mean you're just going around trying to be perceived as good. That's not what I mean by being a benevolent sort of presence. I mean it's somebody that's heartfully engaged in whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
I think that speaks so much.
Yeah. Well, you've been quite a benevolent presence in my world, and thank you so much. This is such a treat to share the awareness with you for a little bit. Thank you so much.
I'm glad we finally got an opportunity to talk together.
I am too.
All right.
I am too. We're signed up for a retreat in Tahoe, so I hope, God willing, it's still on. But
it's still on. It's still on right now, Josh, and God willing, it'll happen.
Okay. Thank you so much, Nadia.
You're welcome, my friend.
Take care.
You're well. Yeah.